Hello again, this is Mr. Reese, and this time I am going to be going over your syllabus for Biology 1. As you can see there, Biology 1 is the first course that you are required here at Yorktown High School. We'll be talking about structural and functional characteristics of living things and how they interact with each other. The emphasis, as you can see there at the bottom of the class, is placed on the mastery of the academic standards, which I'll be getting into here. And this will prepare you for the Core 40 end of course assessment that you take at the end of the year. First of all, let's talk about your textbook, supplies, and getting assistance. The biology book that you'll be using is simply labeled Biology, written by Ken Miller and Joe Levine. I will be showing you today how to access the online version of the book, and then once we actually get you into class, I'll be passing out your hard copy then. I'm also today going to help you get signed up for Gizmo Labs through Explore Learning, and that'll be in a short video coming later today. I would like you to make sure that you always have your computer with you. Make sure that it is always charged up. And please bring with you your charger just in case something has happened where you have used up the power throughout the day. I suggest having a binder or folder. In that binder and folder, you should have some loose leaf paper for use. I don't care if you have pens or pencils to write with. All I ask is that you do not use red ink. Okay, so again, make sure you have your computer, something to put your materials in, some paper, and some writing utensils for the day. You may get assistance outside the classroom. You can do this by contacting me, either through email, Canvas. You may also get help in the Tiger Den. If you need to see me, I'm available every day from 7:30 to 8. If you need to see me after school, you will need to make an appointment, so I will be sure to stay so that I can help you. Let's look at our course outline. There are 5 standards in Indiana that I am required to cover you, and you can see what those 5 are. They start with cellular structure and function. Then standard 2 deals with matter and the cycling of this matter and energy. We will talk about something called interdependence. That is how living things rely on each other. Then we will get into inheritance and traits. And finally, we will finish up with evolution. Generally, I will cover standards 1, 2, and 3 during semester 1, standards 4 and 5 during semester 2. Now, since there were only 5 standards, but there is quite a bit to cover, we will be breaking these up into separate units, and you will be having a test over each unit. To begin with here, in semester 1, we'll actually do kind of an introductory as to the what is biology, what are the characteristics of life, and again, a review of the scientific method. Then we will get into standard 1, standard 2, and then standard 3. As you can see how I will break these up, we'll first in standard 1 talk about what are called biological macromolecules. We will then get into the structure of the cell with the cell membrane, the nucleus, and its organelles. And then finally we will talk about hierarchical organization. In other words, and something you probably mentioned before, starting with the cell, how the cells come together to make tissues, organs, all the way up through to the organism. Okay, so you can expect 2 tests over standard 1. The first one will be the macromolecules. The second part will be the cell structure and hierarchical organization. Then we'll move into standard 2, where we will talk about cellular respiration and photosynthesis. and then we will get into the cycles of matter. And the main cycles of matter we'll be looking at are the water cycle, the carbon cycle, the nitrogen cycle, and the phosphorus cycle. So you'll have 4 cycles that we will go on from there. And then, as I said, standard 3 interdependence. Again, we have some hierarchical organization, this time starting with the organism all the way up to biomes. We'll talk about carrying capacity and factors that limit how many organisms can live in an area. We'll talk about the different types of pyramids, such as the energy pyramid, biomass pyramids. We'll talk about roles of organisms, their niches or habitats. We will get into food chains and food webs, and then the impact that we as humans have on the world, and that will take care of semester 1. Semester 2, as I said, we'll cover standards 4 and 5. In standard out, we'll get into DNA structure, replication, protein synthesis, the cell cycle. We'll talk about how cells reproduce through mitosis and meiosis. Then we'll get into genetics, both Mendelian and non-Mendelian, and then we'll talk about genetic variation. From there, we will hit evolution, talk about Darwin and natural selection, what evidence is there to support evolution, and finally, or hopefully, get into what is called taxonomy. That is the classification of living things. Okay, what will be graded in this class? You will have classwork in the form of many worksheets. We do use the textbook, and you will be doing several worksheets along the way over each unit from the textbook. We will have lab work. Most of that lab work will occur through Gizmo labs, even though we will be doing some hands-on labs as we go along. I'll talk about the Gizmo lab more once I get you signed up for it later today. You will have quizzes along the way, 5 to 15 points. All quizzes and tests are given through Canvas. Each of your tests, each of your unit tests are worth 50 points. They will cover everything in the class from lecture discussion to homework to lab work. They will be multiple choice matching and sequencing or placing things in order. If we are able to do projects, those will count as 25 points. And then finally, at the end of each semester, you will have a semester exam, 100 items, and that semester exam counts as 10% of your grade. I'll talk about that more here when I get to the grading. So, grading, as I mentioned, we follow the basic grading 90, 80, 70, 60. For A's, B's, C's, D's, anything below 60s will receive a failing grade. Okay, how are grades figured? They're figured on a total points system. So all your homework, all your lab work, all your quizzes, all your tests are added together. You take the number of points you received by how many were possible. I get a percentage, and that will be assigned a grade. Now, the way the semester works here at the high school is the first quarter is 45% of your grade, second quarter is 45% of your grade, and as I mentioned earlier, your semester exam will count 10%. So I take your grade from the first 9 weeks and multiply that by 0.45. Do the same for the second grade 9 weeks, and then finally I multiply your semester exam times 0.1. I will add those numbers again. That'll give me a percentage, and that will be assigned a grade. Now, some things to understand that can affect your grade. First of all, you are responsible for keeping your track of your own grades. I suggest doing this through PowerSchool and not relying on Canvas. If you notice any discrepancies, then make sure you bring that to my attention right away. I am not perfect. I will make mistakes. I might type in a 0 instead of a 10. Okay, so if you do see any discrepancies, get hold of me. You will not hurt my feelings. I don't want to hurt your grade because of my mistake. All work is the responsibility of the student. Okay, your assignments will be due on the or at the beginning of each following class period. It is your responsibility to have turned in. If it's not turned in by then, it will be perceived as late. Okay. Also, if you miss a day, it is your responsibility to look through Canvas, specifically in the calendar, to see what work that you have missed. Okay. And then that will need to be made up in the appropriate time, which is by the following class. Sloppy work will not be accepted. At the beginning, that shouldn't be a problem because you will be doing everything on the computer and submitting it through me, so I should be able to read everything that you typed. But as we move on, if you have something that you actually have to write on paper, if I can't read it, I'll simply put a 0 on top and return it. I'll give you one chance to redo it for a grade. Anything that is late only receives half credit, and I will only take late work up until we take the test for that particular unit. Okay. I do not assign extra credit on a student-student basis. I do offer extra credit for the entire class throughout the 9 weeks or grading period. Just take advantage of when it is offered at those times. Okay, if you have any other questions about the syllabus, make sure that you ask me. The next thing you're going to go do is actually take a short 1-question quiz saying that you understand and agree to do your best to understand everything on this syllabus.